You're too soft. You're too aggressive. You're not confident enough. You're too confident. You need to speak up more. You need to let others talk. You care too much about other people. You don't care enough about people. You're too emotional. You're too cold. If you've ever felt like no matter what you do as a leader, someone has a problem with how you do it, you're not imagining it. You're facing an impossible standard. And it's one of the most exhausting, invisible patterns that women in leadership face. I'm Davina Dandridge, and this is Brains and Baubles Live, where we talk about emotional intelligence, strategic living, and the sophisticated inner work that keeps high functioning women from burning out in silence. Today, we're talking about why women leaders cannot win and what that impossible standard does to your confidence, and how to lead authentically without losing yourself in the process. Before we go further, I'm not a therapist. I'm an emotional empowerment strategist, author, and professor. What I share here is based on research, frameworks, and lived experience, but not clinical treatment. So if you are in crisis or you need therapeutic support, please reach out to a licensed professional. The impossible standard for women leaders is a no win situation. You're expected to be warm and nurturing, but also assertive and decisive. You should care about people, but not too emotional. You should be confident, but not arrogant. You should speak up, but not dominate. And no matter which side you lean toward, someone is going to criticize you for it. Here's what makes it impossible. When you lead with warmth, empathy, and collaboration, people like you, but they don't see you as competent. They say you're nice, but they don't think that you are leadership material. They question whether you can make tough calls or handle conflict. You get feedback that you need to be more assertive, more direct, and more willing to make hard decisions, so you adjust. You become more assertive. You make the tough calls. You set the boundaries and you push back. And you know what now? You're too aggressive. You're too harsh, you're too intimidating, and you get called abrasive, difficult, and not a team player. People say you've changed. You can't win. Your expectations are contradictory. You're supposed to be communal and agentic at the same time, in perfect balance, without ever leaning too far either direction. And that margin of error is razor thin. Men don't face this the same way. When men are assertive, they're leaders. When they set boundaries, they're decisive. When they prioritize results, then they are strategic. Women doing the exact same behaviors get labeled bossy, cold, or abrasive. Same behavior, different interpretation, and that difference is exhausting. Let's talk about what this constant contradiction does to you. Because it's not just annoying feedback, it's a pattern that just breaks down your confidence. It breaks down your authenticity, and your leadership capacity gets broken down as well over time. The first thing it does is that it creates chronic self monitoring. When you know that everything that you do will be scrutinized through a gendered lens, you start monitoring or policing yourself. You monitor your tone, and you do that in real time. You edit your language in your mind before you even say it. You calculate how assertive you can be in this meeting before you get labeled aggressive. You spend cognitive energy managing perceptions instead of focusing on the actual work. That self monitoring is exhausting. The next thing that it does is that it fuels imposter syndrome. When you get this contradictory feedback information, it becomes impossible to know if you're actually good at your job or not. If one person says that you're too soft and another says that you're too hard, then which one of them is right? The answer is neither one of them are right. But you don't know that. You start to believe that maybe, I'm really not cut out for leadership. Maybe everyone else has something figured out and they have that certain balance that you're the only one who's not getting it. You're the only one that's struggling. And that doubt compounds over time. Third, it forces you to choose between being liked and being respected. Research shows that for women, likability and competence are inversely related. The more competent you are perceived to be, the less likable you perceive to be. So you have to decide, do you want people to like you or do you want them to respect you? Men rarely have to make that choice. Fourth, it makes you question your own instincts. When you're constantly adjusting based on feedback, you lose touch with what you actually think is the right way to lead. You start leading based on what you think will be palatable instead of what you think is effective. And over time, that disconnection between your internal compass and your external performance creates a sense of inauthenticity that is deeply destabilizing. See, the impossible standard doesn't just make leadership harder, it makes it lonely. You are constantly navigating expectations that change based on who's in the room, what mood they're in, and what biases they are carrying. And you can't control any of that. Let me show you what it looks like to actually do this. Because the impossible standard is not some abstract concept. It's happening in meetings, it's in performance reviews, it's in everyday interactions. So, here, let's go. Scenario number one, you're in a meeting. You're in this meeting with other leaders. A male colleague interrupts you. Now, you have two choices at this point. You can let it go, which means your idea doesn't get heard and you're seen as not assertive enough. Or you could push back, which means you could be risking getting labeled as difficult or not a team player. See, if you were a man, pushing back would be seen as confident. But because you're a woman, it's a risk calculation every single time. Scenario number two, the performance review. You get feedback that you need to be more strategic and less focused on the people issues. Okay, so you shift, right? You delegate the culture work, you focus on the results. So 6 months later, you get feedback that you have lost touch with the team. Scenario number three, the tough decision. You make a hard call. You cut a project that's not working. You let someone go that's not performing. You push back on a timeline that's unrealistic. Male leaders who do this get called decisive and results oriented, but you get called cold. People say they miss the old you. They wonder if the role has changed you. Same behavior, but different judgment. Scenario number four, the emotion. You show frustration in a meeting because a major initiative fell apart due to somebody else's oversight. If you were a man, people would say you were passionate or you could hold people accountable. But because you're a woman, people say you're too emotional and that you overreacted. You get pulled aside and told to manage your tone. Meanwhile, your male colleagues who yelled in the meeting last week gets called a strong leader. These are not hypothetical situations. These are patterns that show up over and over again in the research and in the lived experience of women leaders across industries. The cumulative weight of navigating these contradictions every single day is what drives burnout, attrition, and the quiet exit of talented women from leadership pipelines. So, how do you lead effectively when the standard is impossible? How do you navigate contradictory expectations without losing yourself or burning out? Here's my framework. So, step one, you name it for yourself. The impossible standard only has power when it's invisible. But when you see it and you know what it is, when you name it, you stop internalizing it as a personal failure. The next time you get contradictory feedback, you recognize what's happening. This is the impossible standard. This is not about me being bad at leadership. This is about gendered expectations that cannot be met. The internal reframe alone protects your confidence and gives you back your power. Step two, decide who you are as a leader. You cannot lead based on what other people want you to be because what they want will change depending on the day. You have to be clear on your own leadership values. Are you a leader who prioritizes people? Great. Own it. Are you a leader who prioritizes results? Great. Own it. Are you somewhere in the middle? Define it, write it down, use that as your North Star instead of the constant shifting feedback. When you know who you are, the noise becomes just that, noise. Step three, build a feedback filter because not all feedback is useful. Some feedback is about you, some feedback is about the person giving it. You need to learn to tell the difference. If the feedback is specific, actionable, and consistent across multiple people, then pay attention to that. But if the feedback is vague, contradictory, or feels like it's a tone complaint, then just filter that one out. You don't have to take every piece of feedback as gospel. Your job is not to be everything for everyone. Your job is to lead with integrity. Step four, find your people. You cannot navigate the impossible standard alone. You need other women leaders who understand what you're dealing with, who can reality check the feedback you're getting, and who can remind you that you're not crazy. Build a network, join a peer group, invest in coaching or mentorship. Surround yourself with people who see the impossible standard for what it is. This is not about complaining. This is about having a place where you can process the contradictions without internalizing them. Step five, focus on your sphere of influence. You can't change the entire system overnight, but you can change how you show up in it. You can model authentic leadership for women who are watching you. You can give clear, consistent feedback to your team. You can be the kind of leader you wish you had when you were coming up. When you lead with clarity and authenticity, you create ripples. You don't have to fix everyone. You just have to stay grounded in who you are and what you value. There is a scripture that speaks to this. Galatians 1:10 says, "For do I now persuade men or God, or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ." This is not about being difficult or rebellious. It's about knowing who you serve. If you spend all of your energy trying to meet impossible standards that keep shifting, you will lose yourself. But if you're clear on your values, on what you're called to do, on the kind of leader you're meant to be, you can navigate this noise without being destabilized by it. You can lead from a place of peace instead of performance. If you want to go deeper with this, I have a resource for you. It's called the Emotional Sophistication Map. It will help you identify your leadership patterns, where you're giving power away, and what your next strategic move should be. Grab it in the link in the description. Do not skip this. Let me tell you what it looks like on the other side of the impossible standard because I want you to have a vision of what you're moving toward. When you stop trying to meet contradictory expectations, you start leading from a place of integrity. You know who you are, you know what you value. You make decisions based on that instead of based on what will make people comfortable. You stop editing yourself in every interaction. You stop calculating how assertive you can be without being punished. You stop second guessing every word that comes out of your mouth. You just lead. That clarity, that alignment, it shows up in your presence. But people might criticize you. They might still say that you're too much or not enough, but it does not destabilize you anymore because you're not leading for that approval. You're leading for impact, and that's a completely different game. You also become a better leader for other women. You stop perpetuating the impossible standard. You stop giving contradictory feedback. You stop expecting the women on your team to be warm and assertive in perfect balance. You create a space for them to lead as themselves. That changes the culture. Authentic leadership is not about being perfect, it's about being coherent. It's about leading in a way that feels true to who you are, even when that makes some people uncomfortable. And that is the only kind of leadership that is sustainable. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, Davina, I get it, but I need help navigating this in my actual job. Well, I hear you. The impossible standard is not something you dismantle overnight. It's a pattern you've been navigating for years, and unwinding it takes strategy and support. That's why I created the Self Gut Check Method course. It walks you through the entire process of defining your leadership identity, filtering feedback, and leading authentically without burning out. You get video lessons, worksheets, and real life studies, and access to a private community of women leaders doing this work right alongside you. For strategic emotional support when you're navigating high stakes leadership moments, I created Sophie, my emotional strategy AI. Sophie is designed to help you create emotional clarity and respond with calm authority, relationships, and leadership transitions as well. She offers grounded emotional insight and composure driven guidance based on my frameworks. Sophie is positioned as a premium digital companion for women who value discernment and sophisticated empowerment. You can access Sophie through a link in the description. If you're leading a team or managing an organization, I offer corporate training on emotional intelligence and leadership development. We work with companies to dismantle gender leadership expectations, build equitable feedback systems, and create cultures where women can lead as themselves without penalty. If this sounds like something your organization needs, reach out. Let's talk about it. And if you want one on one support, I offer refinement sessions. These are consultations where we map out your specific challenges with the impossible standard. We build a personalized navigation plan and help you reclaim your leadership voice. These sessions are for women who are ready to invest in the highest level. Spots are limited, so if you're interested, check the link in the description. Here's what I want you to remember. The impossible standard for women leaders is real. It's not in your head, and it's not your fault. It's something you can fix by being better at leadership. Because the problem isn't you, the problem is a system that holds women to contradictory expectations. But you don't have to let it break you. You can name it, you can navigate it, and you can lead authentically in spite of it. That's what emotionally sophisticated women do. If this resonated, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Brains and Bobbles Live so you don't miss the next conversation. And grab the emotional sophistication map so you can start leading from clarity today. I'm Davina Dandridge. This is Brains and Bobbles Live, and I will see you on the next one.